Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture. Let's bring on the host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs.
Hello everyone, I'm Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs and the host of Vegas Rock Dog Radio. On today's show, I'm talking about the Humane Network and their role as the new trustees of the Nevada SPCA. So stay right there.
Let's bring on the host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm your host Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs, and this is Vegas Rock Dog Radio, a rock and roll show all about pets, people, and pop culture. Who's in studio with me today? It is Mr. Jim.
Hello.
Is that your best radio voice?
Hello.
We've got Mr. Twix and Miss Thornton, and Miss Galaxy looks down on us from heaven, telling us not to be ridiculous and just put out a great show every single week. If you're new to the show, welcome to the show. If you're one of our regulars, welcome back. This is the live show. You never know what's going to come out of my mouth on a live show, but it's real, and I think that's the most important thing. It's authentic, isn't it, Jim?
Very authenticated.
They're very authentic. If you are new to the show and you want to know where else you can find us on the internet, of course, our website is vegasrockdogradio.com, and you'll find us on Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, and Instagram. Our blog is therockandrolldog.com, and if you happen to miss the live show, well, that's sad, isn't it? Live show is Saturday mornings at 10 a.m., in case you didn't know that. You can just go to our site on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. and click the Listen Live button. But if you do miss a live show, don't worry, you can catch up. You can catch up on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spoke by SiriusXM, Spotify. This week, we will be on Google Play. And if you have a different podcast app on your phone, you can find us. We're everywhere. We're like a bad rash. We're everywhere, aren't we, Jim? Can I get a little bit more bottom end in my mic, please? Thank you.
You need to trust your engineer, because I know what sounds better. I got better headphones than you.
Oh, you're not the boss of me.
Well, you're not the engineer.
You're not the boss. You're not the boss of me.
Continue with the subject matter. Got it. Done.
Thank you very much. Very particular about, my sound and everything. Well, we do have a weekly update, and if you are new to the show, this is how we do it. We do our weekly update of what Jim and I have been up to, and then we get into our main topic or topics of the show. Today, it is one topic. It's a big topic, but a very important one, and I'm very happy to bring it to you. But the first thing I want to talk about, not so fun, we have got an outbreak of the Parvovirus in town. It's not good. It's very contagious, and it can linger around for a good 6 months. So what's happening now is coming into, I know the Animal Foundation have got a pretty high incidence of this happening right now. They're giving us warnings. Don't go into dog parks. Don't go where there's high populations of dogs. You've got to be very careful. They're coming into the veterinarian's offices, and it is treatable, but you've got to get in there straight away. But it's a nasty virus, and it spreads very, very quickly. So be cautious. Go on different walks. Go where it's really kind of, what's the word, Jim?
Open
Away from other dogs and stuff, where dogs don't hang out. Just be really, really careful. It's not worth saying, oh, my dog needs to go to the dog park, and then it picking up parvo. It's the last thing it needs. So beware of that. That's in Vegas. Last week, well, there was Dog Mom's Day. Actually, there's 2 dates floating around for Dog Mom's Day, and it's both called National Dog Mom's Day. And one that a lot of people go with on the National Day calendar was the one that we celebrated last week. And it's the day before. I don't say mom, I say mum. Our Mother's Day is completely different, by the way, in England. We're completely different.
When is it?
It's March. Is it March? It's March. It's gone. It's already happened. Although, I get to wish my mum another, happy Mother's Day twice in the year. But it was the day before, which was the 11th. Yes. And where did you take me, Jim, to celebrate being such a good dog mum?
For high tea.
I went for high tea because, I'm all about the tea. I'm all about the teacups, the china. I'm all about the etiquette. I think I might have driven you a little bit mad on the etiquette.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's very specific for a high tea. You don't want to appear very rude or low class.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm American.
It does matter. You're married to me.
It doesn't. Your English etiquettes.
Here are a couple little etiquette tips, yeah? When you have the scones, don't cut the scones. You break a small part of the scone off, and then you put your clotted cream and your jam
What's
on
the
it.
history of breaking the scone?
It's just polite.
What's the history of it?
It's polite
you
etiquette. It looks rude if
some
you just
things
stick a
you
big
don't eat
knife
with your
down the middle of
fingers,
it.
and some things you have to break instead of slice. Well,
Yes.
slicing's
And
very polite.
And when you pick up your finger sandwiches, it's with 3 fingers, but not with the little finger sticking up. And this is where people have got confused on that. Commoners would pick things up with the whole 4 fingers and a thumb, yeah? And upper class people, 3 fingers, but the finger's down. The little finger is down. And so somehow it got confused into drinking the tea and sticking your finger up. Don't do that. It's very rude.
So the little finger doesn't touch the sandwich. Only 3 fingers do.
And the
But
little
it's
finger
not
doesn't touch
turned
the
up,
cup.
but it doesn't touch the food. But if you touch it with 4 fingers, you're common because you're eating the same piece of food, but a finger is touching it.
I'm telling you, manners showed people where you were in society without telling people where you were in society. That's why they were so important, Jim.
I'll bet you there were people of the aristocracy and men that would eat with 4 fingers, and they didn't care about that.
No, but they did. That's the thing. That's why it stuck around all this time, because it was important.
Who decided that it was 3 fingers versus 4? Who made that up? Where did that come from?
I will find out for you, Jim.
Who made that up? Somebody made that up.
Upper class people.
For what reason?
We're fancy. We're going to do 3 fingers.
No, you're not even giving me a reason. You're dancing around it now.
I'm not dancing around it. I said I'll find out for you.
There's no reason.
It's just something I've done my whole life. So, you know what I mean? I love pomp and circumstance. I love it. I love it all. I love etiquette. But yes, it's very specific.
I need to know the history of the etiquette, or else I don't accept it.
Oh, you don't accept it anyway.
Right.
I know. So we did celebrate Dog Mum's Day with a high tea. I dressed up in my floral dress, which I've been dying to do for ages, and my placebo on my neck.
And you finally got to go have high tea.
I did, and I'm going back on Sunday to do it all over again with another friend of mine. Okay, so my last piece of news before we get on to our main topic is a nurse is collecting pacemakers to give to dogs. And years after a dog dies, a nurse starts collecting pacemakers from human patients to give to pets in need. Terry Matula has been saving dozens of animals simply by recycling the very same medical devices that are used to save humans. When Matula and her husband were in college 20 years ago, their beloved Cocker Spaniel named Gator suffered from an urgent 3rd-degree heart blockage. The pup was in desperate need of a pacemaker, but since the Matulas were both students at the time, they couldn't afford this $3,000 device. So Matula has now been working as a cardiovascular nurse at the Navicent Health Center in Macon, Georgia, for 17 years. And she's been using her experience in the hospital to help sick pets as well. So back in 2017, Matula's husband was told that he needed to upgrade his pacemaker. And when she remembered what happened to her dog Gator, she asked if she could keep the pacemaker for an animal in need. The similarities between how animals and humans are treated for certain diseases are very strong. As she said, when I was studying to become a nurse 20 years ago, I learned that pacemakers for human beings just could be used in dogs too. So she asked the team, the cardiology team, can I keep it? And after they replaced it, then they called the University of Georgia to find out if I could donate the device to the College of Veterinary Medicine. As a result of her husband's successfully donated pacemaker benefiting the nearby veterinary school, Matula was inspired to start collecting human pacemakers in order to give them to animals in need. And so in February 2018, she formed the Pacemaker Donation Program. And that's something we're definitely going to share with you in the links in the show. And she said it's when a patient's pacemaker is exchanged, upgraded or replaced, the patient is offered the option of donating their used device to the Pacemaker Donation Program. And everyone, our staff and our patients, has been excited to save the lives of animals with reusable devices. Now, since launching the program, the university has received 41 pacemakers. And she says many of the pacemakers have at least 5.5 years of battery life remaining, offering aging dogs the opportunity for many more evening walks and games of fetch. Isn't that great? And then they say those that come in that have a smaller, less battery life are useful as teaching tools in the classroom with the veterinary students. Don't you love that? And that came from the website, and I love the name of this website, Good News Network, because heck, we need some good news. There's been some pretty horrendous animal news going on, especially in Vegas for the last couple of weeks. So I thought that was absolutely great, and I bet a lot of people don't know about that. But what a great option. Oh, it's so good. And they probably felt really good at the fact that at the time they couldn't afford that for their dog at the time, but 17 years later, his actual pacemaker benefited another dog. Just love those kind of stories. Well, with that said, like I said, we've got a big topic today, a really big topic, and I took a lot of notes, and I've put it all together in this show. And I feel like it's going to be an important update for everyone of what's happening in Vegas with our local shelter, the Nevada SPCA. And on many occasions on this show, I've discussed my concerns with this shelter, with the Nevada SPCA and how it's managed. And I'm talking about, like I said, the Nevada SPCA. The problems are numerous, from dogs being there for years without appropriate care, training, enrichment. They've got facilities that are in disrepair, unhygienic. There's also a very recent investigation that started. Well, it started with an expose first on the news, and a recent investigation into their finances with misappropriated funds under the previous leadership of President Kathy Jung. So you do need to know that I'm talking about, when I talk about this kind of stuff, it was with the previous administration. Her removal and that of the entire board happened very recently. And it was certainly a move that was welcomed by the community, in particular with people involved in animal rescue, and that included myself and Jim. It took years before this story finally cracked open, and some very brave people spoke up about what was going on. Because as you know, sometimes when you stick your neck out, sometimes your head gets chopped off, even if you are doing the right thing. It's not easy, and I applaud the people who stood up for the animals. It's something I've talked about for 10 years straight. I've had people fall out with me over it. Oh, you're so harsh, Sam. I'm sure they're doing their best. We've had our own personal experiences over there. And I kept thinking to myself, why are you not on the side of the animals? This is so bizarre to me. But for 10 years, and finally it cracked open. And of course, I will link as much as I possibly can in the show notes about this, because all the news pieces available on this story and led up to this point where the entire board stepped down and the Humane Network stepped in as the trustees. I've got all the links to the video, so you can piece it together and see how we got to this point. And as you can imagine, particularly through social media, there's all kinds of gossip now about the incoming organization. I don't know where they're getting their info from, because these people have not met with either the president of the Humane Network or any of their staff at this point. And I'm already very familiar with the work at the Humane Network and Maddie's Fund as well, and the work that they're doing. So I want to give you a little bit of a background about them first. So at this point, our local shelter, the old administration is gone. The board and the president are gone, and the Humane Network are now the new trustees. And so the Humane Network is a non-profit 501c3 organization that helps non-profit welfare organizations, shelters, and animal service agencies dramatically and responsibly increase animal life saving and create sustainable results. They provide personalized consulting, practical information, model programs, and networking opportunities. So this is, in a nutshell, an organization that comes in and can turn around and improve your shelter, your rescue, or like say an animal service agency. And I love the word dramatically and responsibly, and I absolutely love that. Now, Bonney Brown, she is the president and she's the principal consultant. And upon reading Bonnie's bio, you can appreciate the experience and education she brings to the Nevada SPCA. I would also like to note that the network has a shelter management certificate program, and it's the University of the Pacific's online life-saving centered animal shelter management certificate program to gain knowledge and skill to expand your career prospects in sheltering, animal sheltering. That's something you should look at. If it's just something you want as a career, get the qualifications, get the education. You can't go wrong when you do that. Don't fly by the seat of your pants, as many of these organizations are doing. They fall into for a lack of experience and education, they fall into some terrible situations, and sometimes it's really hard to get out. So start with the education, start there first. Just going off on a tangent a little bit, someone the other day said to me, I think I'm going to start a part-time rescue. And I said, oh, there's no part-time with rescue. There's not really much life with rescue, in all honesty. And I said, I would recommend that you would get educated first, find out what it entails. And I sent her some links for some bits and pieces and stuff. And she actually came back to me and said, yeah, I think I'm just going to foster. And she said, I no idea. It is hard work, and there are many facets to it that most people don't know unless they've really been, involved in rescue prior to that. So yes, get educated. I mean, you're not going to go out and say, I'm going to be a dentist, and not go and get educated on how to be a dentist, are you? Anyway, I myself am not only just a concerned member of our community regarding the Nevada SPCA, and I've been very outspoken about it, but I'm also someone who works closely with animal rescues, and Jim and I had a not so pleasant personal experience with them, prior to the Humane Network coming in. And I wanted to know what the plan was. What's the plan? What are they going to do going forward? Now that we have this new organization stepping into, it's not, it's less than a desirable situation to be stepping into. I mean, it's tough what they're stepping into. It's not what they created. It's not their doing. And they're coming in to turn this around and address many, many things. So I reached out to Bonney earlier this week to set up a time to meet, and I put pen to paper together and wrote down all of my questions, 4 pages worth, by the way. And for those of you who listen to the show regularly, I don't like to leave any stone unturned. So I wrote as many questions as possible down there. And before I actually get into our meeting yesterday, I want to talk about, this term sanctuary, the designation of sanctuary. I think we need to be very strict on how, if you apply to be a sanctuary or a rescue, But these terms are thrown around and used willy-nilly by all kinds of people. And this is what an animal sanctuary means. An animal sanctuary is a facility where animals are brought to live and be protected for the rest of their lives. Unlike animal shelters, sanctuaries do not seek to place the animals with individuals or groups, instead maintaining each animal until its natural death. So it's for life. And now I'd like to read to you the NSPCA's mission. The mission of the Nevada SPCA, a non-profit organization, operates a no-kill animal sanctuary, promotes humane education. I'm not sure really what that means, in all honesty. It makes referrals for lower cost spay, neuter, and vaccination services, and challenges people to be the best possible guardians for the companion animals and their care. I see Jim raising his eyebrows over there. They said we work to achieve adoption goals by treating each animal as an individual with the names instead of a number. And we strive to match each rescued animal by personality and lifestyle in order to have the best chance to find a forever home. We seek homes for the animals where they will be treated, cherished, and appreciated as members of the family. As I've just read, they use the word sanctuary, and that's how they describe themselves. And it's not a sanctuary. It is far, far, far from it. And you have to be very clear with your community exactly what it is you do and what you expect to achieve, and to not promise the stars when you just can't deliver that dream. And this is what they've done. So they said we're this, but they're actually not that. And because of that, they're not being able to deliver. Now, transparency with your community is of the utmost importance with any organization. The minute that you're not communicating, you're not answering questions. What really triggered a lot of this was a couple of years ago when there was no AC in the back in summer. And all of a sudden, you couldn't go back and see the dogs. You had to pick one off the website and they would bring one up front. And it was all a bit suspect, like, what's going on? And that's what was going on. So instead of saying, we've got a problem with our IC, we need help, and reaching out, they hid that. And how they hid that was by saying, you can't come in the back and you can't figure out how hot it is back there. So basically, that was one of the things. So you do have to be very clear, I think, with your community, what it is you can you're actually going to achieve, and don't, inflate that and then not deliver. So let's get on to what was planned as an hour meeting, but turned into a 3-hour meeting. And I'm really thankful that Bonney and Vanessa Porter, she's their outreach manager, for giving me so much of their time. And alas, I asked a lot of questions. I took a lot of notes. And so I want to give you, what I learned from Bonney and Vanessa. First thing I asked was if the air conditioning problem had been addressed. There was no AC running through the back of there, to my knowledge. Like I say, it's been like that a couple of years at least, if not more. We live in the desert with temps of 100 degrees every day and night for months on end. And can you imagine how those animals felt in that heat? She said the air conditioning is quite a problematic situation because the building is dilapidated, and that is not exaggerating. The roof has been it's been patched so many times, it's like a patchwork quilt. It's unsafe, and working on the roof poses a lot of dangers. She told me that your feet will go through the roof. And what they do have in the back, though, is they're massive. They're called portacools, and they're big, huge AC units, basically. And they're keeping the kennels nice and cool in the back. I didn't think it was warm even. It was a good temperature back there. And she says, and they also have to be maintained, where they have to actually repair the actual pumps in them. So, with everything you've got in a facility, you've got to maintain it. And this is what's not happened prior to them showing up, was nothing was maintained, nothing was replaced, nothing was repaired, or it was patched up. And so that was one of their issues, but it is cool back there, and I will tell you that. And I saw on a news piece that Bonney had mentioned, we're not huge fans of having, air blowing through kennels, because, you think about airborne diseases and that kind of thing. So they're really on this. It is definitely problematic. Now, she did tell me that they pay $13,500 a month in rent for this building. It's dilapidated beyond. I honestly, I don't know how the landlords got away with a property in such ill repair. I toured the facility and I witnessed open sewage that just won't drain away, but it's open. It's like a channel cut into the concrete, and that's where kennels and stuff are. The concrete's cracked. So, they're not only stepping in to turn the shelter around in the way that they do business with animals, they're having to deal with a broken down property that is just not functional in any way, shape, or form for modern day sheltering. It is a monumental task of which they will accomplish it. Absolutely. I know that for sure. But there are many components that they've got to deal with. And as you can imagine, it's not easy coming in to an organization that's had a certain culture that you've got to turn around as well. That involves evaluating employees and volunteers, retraining them, getting them on board with a whole new and well-researched, proven way of sheltering. So lots of people get stuck in some old ways or just ways that they learned from other people that weren't correct, and then deal with this facility that's crumbling and gain the community's trust after the aftermath of the previous president and the board. It's a lot. It is a lot, but they are not new to this. This is what they do. I also asked about nutrition. We talk about nutrition a lot. And, I asked what food were they feeding the dogs and the cats. And there is a current contract in place with Hills and with Blue Buffalo. And as we've talked about many times on the show, Blue Buffalo having serious problems with pets dying from pentobarbital in the food. And that is the euthanization drug that's used on dogs, cats, and horses. So you can figure that one out. But I'm going to share with Bonney my contacts in the food industry and see if we can help them get onto a more premium pet food there. Again, that all falls under these 5 freedoms of animal welfare, which is, try and get them a species-appropriate diet, get them on good food. Anyway, we talked about certain things that would improve their welfare while at the shelter. Things like soundproofing the kennel area because it's loud and one barks, they all bark. And, of course, that increases stress. So soundproofing is a way to reduce the noise and lower their stress levels. I also asked whether the dogs now had beds and blankets and toys for enrichment. Now, all the dogs have beds and almost all the dogs have blankets. And let me explain why some do not have blankets, because I don't want you to go, and be outraged. Shelter environments are stressful, and one of the behaviors that a stressed dog will exhibit is chewing, and that can include chewing a blanket, swallowing pieces of blanket, and causing a blockage. And a blockage can lead to death, therefore surgery is usually required. So to be proactive, they observe the dogs, and if there's a dog that is known that's like, we got a dog that's going to chew blankets, then of course they don't take that risk and the danger is removed, but they do have beds, and they didn't have beds before, or there would be the odd dog with a bed, and the dogs were comfortable in there. We also discuss things that we've seen in other shelters. For example, our friend Tina over in Spain with her rescue, Galgos del Sol, their water bowls are elevated. They're actually attached on the wall. Therefore, they can't be knocked over, and it keeps bugs out of them. And they're all very simple fixes that improve the environment while the animals are there. We talked about CBD oil. That was another thing about easing the stress of being in a shelter. And so on that note, talking about shelters or a rescue, it's not a sanctuary. It's not a place where they live forever and live out their days in comfort with lots of space and, more like a natural environment. It's the goal for a shelter or rescue is to say goodbye to to the animals you have there as as they go to their forever homes. This is the goal. Not to live there forever, not to live there for years on end, because shelters are they're not permanent environments. I think we need to start shifting how we look at them, as in, these are temporary, like really temporary. And what do we do to lessen how difficult it is to be in there, applying all these different things, which some people might think, well, that's a little over the top, CBD oil or soundproofing or whatever. But honestly, it is so stressful in these environments because you got stressed dogs around stressed dogs. And, often people coming back and looking at them, and it's a lot. It's just a lot. And so, they say the goal is to wave them goodbye as you're happy that they're going to their forever home. And they're not meant to be permanent environments. And so the goal is to get them adopted out to appropriate families before any behaviors can set in. For example, I saw a couple of dogs that just spinning and spinning and spinning from stress, not from excitement that someone walked by, but spinning. And literally bouncing off walls. I mean, it's very upsetting to see. Very upsetting to see. It's heartbreaking, and it's unacceptable because if they've got to that point from being there all that time, that's cruel. That's really cruel, and it's unacceptable. It was unacceptable to me and many people in rescue, and it's certainly unacceptable to the Humane Network also. So their goal is it's very temporary, and with any programs that they're going to implement, there's going to be a process that involves training the staff, monitoring whatever that task is, tracking the progress, looking at the data, because who loves data, Jim?
You're like the data queen. You love your analytics.
Well, Vanessa, who was in the meeting, she loves data too. So we have something in common there, apart from loving animals. And, you're using this data to see where they are, make changes to yield the best results. So one of the most important things is tracking how long these animals have been in the shelter, because like I said earlier, the goal is to wave a happy farewell as they move to their forever homes. I did request a copy of their most recent data on the length of stay of each species. And before I got home, boom, there it was in my email inbox. And I just want to give you some of these numbers. So currently, the animals that are at the Nevada SPCA, birds are there on an average of 300.25 days. Cats are there 213 days. Dogs are there 170 days. Guinea pigs, 9 days. The guinea pigs are faring very well. Hamsters, 84 days. They've got a pig there. He's been there 1,316 days. Rabbits, 745 days. And the rooster, I've got 2 roosters actually, 91 days. And currently they've got farm animals there. They've got quite a few roosters, actually. Anyone looking for a rooster? There's quite a few roosters. And they've got a chicken and the pot-bellied pig. And Lonnie is the pot-bellied pig. He's been there 5 years, 4 months. He was admitted in 2015. It blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind. Now, there were some dogs that's been there for 5 years. And, at that point you think, what effort was actually even placed into getting that dog adopted? How was that dog put out there for people to see that this dog even existed? And so these are the current statistics. Now, providing me with that type of information shows the transparency in how they're going to conduct this new takeover, as you will, and the data will be updated regularly on their website. I think Vanessa said every 2 weeks, which is great. We discussed that transparency because it's one of the things I did ask about was how are you going to be truthful, for example, when people come and surrender their pets? Because there are many, it's like a weird taboo subject. Like, don't upset anyone and tell them the dog may not get adopted, especially in kill shelters. No one tells you the truth. They always think they're going to drop off their pet and they'll get a home straight away because no one tells them that might not be the case. They could be there for a really long time. They could get ill there. They could die there. I mean, you just don't know. You can't make a guarantee, but they don't even know half the time what the reality is. Bonnie said, yes, of course, we're definitely going to be truthful because she felt it was important that every person was fully informed, allowing them to make a decision based on all the information given. It's not right to sugarcoat or omit what happens when you bring an animal to the shelter. And at the end of the day, we're all grown-ups. It's not little children coming in. We've got to shield them. I think it's important to tell the truth because some people will change their minds. They will. Anyway, that brings me on to the next question, which was although they're a self-described as a no-kill shelter, we know that a no-kill shelter saves animals at a certain percentage, knowing that some animals cannot be saved, and the humane thing to do is to relieve them of suffering. And that percentage is 90%. So 90% live release rate. So that's an expected 10% that you probably cannot save. It could be anything from someone, their dog got run over and they just run to the shelter and say, can you help me? Because a lot of them have vets and stuff like that. And there's nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing you can do. The dog's suffering. And that would be, a percentage there. And that's the reality of it. It's impossible to say 100% of the animals that come in are going to live. It's impossible to say that. And in our experience with the previous, and this was mine and Jim's honest to God experience with the previous administration, we asked them, I don't even want to tell this story in full because it's too long, but basically Jim and I were doing a fundraising comedy show, and someone else in our board, on our board, had selected the Nevada SPCA, which normally we only ever did small rescues who really needed a lot of help. So it was a little bit of a deal breaker, but they said, please meet with them, please meet with them. And so one of the questions I had was, do you euthanize? Do you euthanize on site, or do you take them somewhere else? And they said, no, we don't kill. We don't kill any of them. We're no kill. And it was very insulting because we're not new to this game. And we said, no, in all honesty, there's no way you can save 100% of them. We knew it was a lie. And again, that lack of transparency, it's horrible. I mean, we ended up not doing the event with them, and it was just a horrible, gut-wrenching, my gut says no, did not like that at all, because they weren't honest and transparent. I mean, I don't know, were they thinking I was just going to freak out and go, what do you mean you can't save them all? It was just weird. But you're not going to experience that with the Humane Network because they know what no-kill means and that you can't save 100% of them. Now, Bonney and Vanessa, they emphasized how important that transparency was, especially in earning back the community's trust after such damaging revelations that came out of this expose conducted by reporter Darcy Spears on Channel 13, and then the subsequent investigation by the district attorney. And as you would expect with a scandal that involves, the mishandling of monies and how that money didn't make its way to the care of the animals, of course, donations have just tanked. So transparency and communication is going to play an important role in building that trust. Currently, they are trying to get access to the social media channels, so you've got to be super patient because, of course, at this point, they don't have access to comment and reply to anyone. And don't take that as, oh, my gosh, they're just like the old group. They just don't have access right now. So if you do have questions, just like I did, and it was easy, I emailed Bonney and boom, she got back to me straight away, or pick up the phone and request to speak over the phone or meet and have all your questions answered. Meeting in person is great. You would really like Bonney and really like Vanessa. They're very accessible and they're ready to give you the answers, and it's straight up. It's straight up. And there's nothing to hide there because this was not their doing. They're coming in and they're going to fix this. We also discussed the matter of using, certified positive reinforcement trainers and behaviorists, which they do have. I know that was a concern for people. They do have. I have their names. I can check them out for you, my people. Don't worry. One of them, she's the behaviorist is a master's degree. And that's important because we know there are a lot of rescues and shelters that don't use anyone that has any, experience or education, certifications in training. And that can be a dangerous spot also when it comes to handling animals. And remember, you're handling animals that are not naturally in a relaxed state because of where they are. Anyway, you're going to like this, Jim. They're going to implement a program called Click for Quiet. And it's like any positive reinforcement reward-based program where the dogs are rewarded for being quiet. You've heard me talk about how to teach a dog to bark as opposed to not bark. So instead of like, don't bark, don't bark. Well, you teach a dog to bark and that it's a good thing to bark with reward-based. And that's done with clicker training. And so your dog only barks on cue. And so, it's the same kind of thing, click to quiet. They associate the click and being quiet as a good thing with a reward, and it is a good thing, and it's truly helpful in a shelter environment, and it shows that they care about their well-being to implement something like this. And this is what modern sheltering is all about. It's there's so much research and data on what works and what doesn't work, that it is important that you continue your education. If you haven't got any, start some education. It's changing, and you want to be with the times and what's effective. And basically, it's about meeting the requirements of the 5 freedoms of animal welfare. And it's just not enough to say, well, they're safe now because they're in a kennel. It's not enough. There has to be so much more work to be done to really care for them. We also discussed partnering with more rescues, and that's happening too. And Bonney expressed to me that you just can't beat a foster home. There's nothing like it. Fostering benefits the animals greatly. It gets them out of the shelter. And if you would like to be a foster for the Nevada SPCA, again, reach out through their website. They will be needing fosters because, like I say, they're so valuable. They get to be in a home environment. They get to be socialized. They get to be with people. They get to, freedom of some space and, be a real dog. And you'll be surprised to learn that the previous administration did not have a vet on staff, not even part-time. They were working with multiple vets that were coming in, so there wasn't any one person on the premises at all times. It's problematic, and if you don't have a vet on site and there's an emergency, you can imagine, which direction that's going to go in. And there are, of course, tons of benefits for having a vet on staff. They become familiar with the animals in their care, and they become familiar with their medical history and their needs, and that's all about to change for the better. So I'm very excited about that. It just makes no sense to have that many people streaming in and out. It makes no sense whatsoever. I would imagine things could very easily fall through the cracks. There will also be a focus on how pets are reunited with their owners that have, honestly, it's been far too many cases of people seeing their pets on their site and on social media where they can prove it's their pet and they've received no communication and they never got the pets back. Absolutely heartbreaking, absolutely unacceptable. And I've had quite a few people over the years reach out to me trying to get as much help as possible, knowing that their pet, and they can prove it with chip information, even color and tag or distinguishing marks, and they've never been able to get their pet back. So a new program is going to be implemented. And as part of that, if you are someone who that was your experience and you never got your pet back, they are asking you to contact them with details, and they will be investigating into that. And as I say, I've had quite a few people reach out to me, with those heartbreaking stories as well. You know what, Jim? Let's take a quick break because there's more. There's more, my friends. I'm telling you, it was a great 3 hours. Let me tell you, it was absolutely brilliant. But let's take a quick break because we're going to talk about outside supporters and their fundraising efforts and how that ties into the Nevada SPCA. So stay right there. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio with me, Sam, your host, the queen of rock and roll dogs.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Pet Scene Magazine is dedicated to Las Vegas pets and the people who love them. It's a source of news and information for pet lovers, as well as offering valuable coupons and specials on pet products and services. Find them online at www.lvpetscene.com or look for them on Facebook.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Welcome back, everyone. I know it's a lot of information, but hey, this is how I'm going to help you guys out. You've all got these questions, and here are your answers. And I was so happy that Bonney and Vanessa gave me their time to answer every crazy little question that I had. But one of the things I talked about was in the past, supporters who have held their own fundraising events to benefit the RSPCA have asked if they would advertise if NSPCA. I still say RSPCA because it's the Royal Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, which is the British one, which, by the way, happened to be founded in my hometown of Sheffield first one. Just thought I'd tell you that. It's the Nevada SPCA. But these people who have done these fundraisers for them, I've asked them, will you advertise their fundraiser through their social media channels? And the answer was no. They said, I mean, seriously, I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. They said, if we have to do it for one, we have to do it for all. Yeah, you do it for every single person that is supporting you. Of course you do that, out of respect and with some gratitude. Anyway, I know you can't believe that I said that, but that's an experience that we had. It's ridiculous. But that's going to change as well, because, of course, they are going to be grateful for all the support that they get, having to gain a lot of that back, and they will be sharing those fundraising events. But it was crazy that we were told that. Absolutely crazy. But, for people that create these fundraisers and collect donations and really go out their way, then yes, you absolutely must promote what they are doing for you. I did ask if there was money for a new facility, and the answer is kind of no. As of today, the Attorney General is doing a full investigation. What happened under that previous president's charge and what happened to the money. And there's also an independent, what they call forensic financial audit happening as well by a third party. Because there was this targeted fundraiser that they held years ago to build a new facility. It was never built. The money was raised. The investigation, of course, will provide information on what happened. This means that there will have to be a community fundraiser again. It'll be targeted because it'll be for a facility, because in its current situation, in all honesty, in my opinion, it would be better to flatten that place and just walk away from it, because how much patching up can you do on a building that's just falling apart? And so currently they're looking at a couple of facilities that they can possibly move into. They're working hard on adoptions and their rescue partnerships to get as many of the animals out and adopted, which they've already adopted a fair amount of the animals, and then raise that money for a brand new, modern, purpose-built shelter. It's the only way to go. I mean, it's okay to have a temporary facility while that happens and get out of just that crumbling mess, So another thing I was really happy about was that I said, are you going to keep the horrible logo? Like, please get rid of it. It's that logo is so immature. It doesn't say this is a professional facility. And I joked that if I put that paintbrush between my toes, I think I could do a better job of a logo. Anyway, they are working on a new logo, and it may not seem that important, but it is. Branding is so important. And I think it's time, because this is a new start, a new logo. It's going to be fresh. Everything's going to feel fresh. Everything's going to feel new and like, oh, gosh, a new era. And so I do think that's really important. And my good friend Lisa in, I think I'm thinking, is she Costa Rica or Puerto Rico? She's Costa Rica. We talked about and had a good old laugh about that. So I know she was happy to hear that thing was going to go away. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life, I have to be honest with you. You can expect coming up soon a community forum on their schedule, of which they'll be inviting the community to come to the facility, ask lots of questions, get to know the new trustees. They are 100% open and transparent, and I know you will warm to them very quickly. I would say that Bonney has a wonderful balance of knowledge, experience, strength, and compassion, and she's perfect for what I would call the rebirth of the Nevada SPCA. And another exciting addition is going to be a help desk. You'll be able to call in for any kind of help you need in regards to your pets, adoption, fostering, that kind of thing. And there'll be someone there to pick up the phone and help you. What a concept. Is that not amazing? Someone's going to pick up the phone and help you. Brilliant.
Every change they're talking about doing means there's something that they haven't been doing for years.
Oh, yes.
It's finally going to happen.
Yes, I'm
people that aren't familiar.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. Or people that think, what do you mean they don't have a help desk? Or what do you mean those people didn't get their dogs back when they were at that shelter and they could identify them? Yes, I'm going to say this. I think if there's an example of how a shelter should not be run, this has been it. And those days are gone. They're behind now their history, which is really great. Now, at the end of our meeting, I toured the facility, and I'm going to tell you this right now. It is clean. It does not smell. Those AC units are working. The portacools, I think is what they call them. They're working, and the dogs are comfortable, and they've got beds, and they've got blankets. Some of the dogs have gone out to Kathy's for aquatherapy, which I'm very happy to see that. And they go off site for that kind of therapy. And, you know, as we walked through the kennels, Bonney gave me the plan for every single dog in there. Some of the candidates will probably end up in with sanctuary life. Some will go to rehab. Some will go into specialized rescues. There's a plan for every single one of them. They all have a medical plan if necessary, if they need treatments. You know, some have some skin conditions. They were accommodating the dogs that had those. And they had the dogs organized, I thought, in a very good fashion, where one area they had the immediately adoptable dogs. Then they had the area where they had dogs with some behavioral issues. And, you know, this I feel like this is where they've had to really exercise their expertise in finding the right solution for these dogs, because they've also got feral dogs. And, of course, you know, it extends out to the cats. There's cats that can be adopted straight away, and then there's cats who are feral. Although we didn't think they were that feral. In fact, we didn't think they were feral at all. They were very friendly. They wanted attention. So again, the animals are also being evaluated too, because I think some labels have been placed on those animals that are incorrect. And of course, they've got rabbits there. Now, some of those dogs, like I said earlier, have been in the shelter up to 5 years. A rabbit's been there 9 years. No daylight in that room at all. And, you know, like Bonnie said, like, really, they couldn't find a family for this rabbit in 9 years. This is no life in a cage, you know, because, you know, looking after rabbits has changed too. It's not a little tiny hutch anymore. You know, it's all about space and freedom and enrichment. And they are so on top of that. They know that that is not where rabbits need to be. And I think if I remember correctly, I think she said, I did take a lot of notes, but this was at a point where we were walking around. But I think she said they started with 100 rabbits and now they're down to 50 rabbits. And I know our friend Erin has been getting involved as well. She's the bunny lady here in town. And they have a pig that's been there, Lonnie, like I said, for 5 years. They've got some wildlife there. They've got chickens and cockerels. And it's not the place for farm animals or wildlife at all. And so they will all go to specialized organizations or rescues. There's a plan. There's a plan for all the animals. With confidence, you know, I can say that they're looking at the 5 freedoms of animal welfare. And based on that, the programs that they're going to create, improve upon, they're going to have a really robust welfare program. They do care deeply about the animals, and with their education and experience, they're going to turn it around to become a shelter that we can finally all be proud of. I mean, I want to be proud of my shelters. I don't want to hear these horror stories all the time. I mean, 10 years of it, it's been rough. I think it's been a source of stress for the community in general. Like, whoa, we're talking about them again? What have they done now? And it's not going to be that way anymore. It is, like I said earlier, a monumental undertaking, and it's going to take time. Think about this. Some people are going, why haven't they done this? Or why haven't they done that? Like, you know what? Some people couldn't even organize their closet in a week, let alone revamp an entire, you know, shelter, and the fact that it's falling apart around them. Like, really, come on, people. We all know it takes a lot, and there's a lot that that needs to be done. You know, they're picking up the pieces, but they're going to transform this place, and they're going to need our help. And yes, our trust has been broken, but with the transparency and simple ability to just reach out and to be able to meet with them and speak with them or email, get the answers that you need, they're going to gain everybody's trust again. They are. And it's funny because they're having to gain trust of people that they didn't break the trust with. They just happen to be the organization coming in to do this. And we need to be very thankful for that, because I never thought this day would come. I kept saying to my friend Michael from Portastic Friends, I feel like I'm in an alternate universe right now. Is this really happening? Like they're gone and now these people are in? I mean, we just couldn't believe it. We said, oh gosh, this is the day that everything just starts to change for the better. I was very happy about that. But I have to say, after the 3 hours in the tour and I got in my car and I did cry for the animals. We spent far too much time in the shelter and how distressed some of them are. But I'm very happy there's a plan for each and every one of them. And I really look forward to all the updates because, like I told Bonney, we're going to be friends now. I like to gather friends, don't I, Jim? I like good people. And, you know, my gut said this is a good one. So,
well, they seem to have welcomed you and allowed you to. They've been honest about what they were and what they're trying to change to.
Oh yeah, there was none of this. Like there was no downplaying what the facility was like at all or anything like that. And she was like, "Yeah, look at this. You know, we've got these cracks in the concrete, and look at this. I was a concrete pillar that was just like falling over, and I could see the sky through the roof throughout that shelter. It was crazy, absolutely crazy." And I will be sharing with them, you know, some of my contacts and resources to help them out as much as I can. Of course, I'm going to update you when that community forum comes up on the new programs. We'll have Bonney come on the show or Vanessa, any of the board members that want to come on and talk about the progress. And I think every update is going to feel very good and people are going to get more and more positive and more confident about what's going on over there. As I said, never thought the day would come. We see a shelter turnaround. And now that there is a brand new organization of experiencing turning shelters around, the possibility of having the most amazing modern shelter that we can be proud of is just, it's mind-blowing. And it's, so exciting. And I'm really happy I went down there. Nothing was off limits. I could ask whatever I want. There was no covering up. There was no downplaying. It was all very honest and open. And I think you'll find that too when you meet them. So please, instead of being on social media, you know, making stuff up or going on some other gossip, just contact Bonney or Vanessa. They'll tell you what's going on. The same as what I'm telling you. And I'm just thrilled that they had the time for me. As I say, I took it from an hour to 3, but I have a tendency to do that. So if you ever meet me for coffee, block off half the day. Because I have a lot to talk about and I get really excited and I want to be able to help, that kind of thing. So that's my update for the Nevada SPCA and what's going on over there. And yeah, I mean, can you believe it, Jim? You don't believe it, do you? That it even happened. It's crazy.
No, it still hasn't sunk in yet.
No, it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, I mean, there's still a lot of... here's what I find quite interesting, about people. So, it's what everybody wanted. They wanted that old administration out, and they wanted a whole new, fresh bunch of people to come in. And now we've got that. Now they're starting to criticize them. Like, really? Really? You don't know. You're just going off what other people have said, and they've not met them. This is so ridiculous. And so I do urge you, if you want to foster with them, reach out. If you want to start a fundraiser for them, reach out to them. If you want to know more about the programs and what they have in place, reach out to them. Anything you possibly do. Donations have tanked, but they still need money to run. They really do. And of course, I'm sure you'll see lots of updates on the news through Darcy Spears and the investigation. But that era is over, and I think we can all celebrate that. Well, Mr. Jim, that was a big piece.
Quite a bit of information.
It was a lot of information, but I think, we like to be a service to our community. Even though we're an international show, we have a lot of people very interested in what happened over the shelter. A lot of people, and very outraged. So the day that the letter came out that they were the new trustees was just a whole brand new day. We're very happy about that. Well, if you have liked today's show, and especially if you're listening on your smartphone, it's really easy to share the show with your friends and family and directly onto social media, onto any platform, and we always appreciate that. We always say, remember, you can help an animal in need, either rescue, adopt, donate, volunteer, or share their information. Rescue your next family member and replace the word shop with adopt, and be kind to all animals. Thank you, Jim. Da-da-da.
Yes, very good.
Engineer extraordinaire, producer extraordinaire.
With, yes, checking on all of your sounds.
And I just have to thank my dogs just for being cute.
And
That's
quiet
it.
today.
Yeah, sometimes they bark in the studio, but hey, we're a show all about pets, people, and pop culture. Please take a moment to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and don't forget to post pictures of your pets. We love to see your fur babies and tell us their names too, because some people forget to put their names on there. It's been a very informative kind of show today. You can reach out to me for any kind of questions you may have, and you can definitely reach out to the Nevada SPCA. Currently don't do it on Facebook because, like I said, they don't have access to that right now. Their website is going to be, well, the Humane Network is probably going to be the best website to actually contact them on, humanenetwork.org. Let me double check that I gave you the right extension on that. humanenetwork.org. I was correct on there. And if you want to read about, Bonney and the board, oh my gosh, read their bios. You'll be impressed. You'll be very impressed. Today, you've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio, where it's all about pets, people, and pop culture. I'm your host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs. And always kiss your pets good morning and good night. And I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture. You've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Visit Vegas Rock Dog Radio for more information. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And subscribe on iTunes and iHeartRadio. And remember, give your fur babies a big kiss from me, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs. You must not rely on the information in this broadcast from our hosts as an alternative to medical advice from your veterinarian. If you have any specific questions about a medical matter regarding your pets, you should consult your veterinarian or specialist.